Hey everyone, welcome to Pipes, Tobacco, and Whiskey. So this is our 200th episode, and it's on International Pipe Smoking Day. So we thought we need to pull out the big guns. And we have driven to Jackson, Mississippi to spend a day with John David Cole. Thank you so much for being here.
Tom, I'm tickled, man. Welcome to Jackson.
Thank you.
This is precious, man. We're really honored to be a part of this.
This
really
is such a treat for us, and I know that our viewers are going to really appreciate this. So, one of the things that I thought about doing with this episode is, everybody knows about the country squire. Well, anybody who is somebody knows about the country squire.
If you're really desperate, you know about the country squire.
and of course they know about the podcast and some of the major changes that are coming up with the podcast. And you're going to cover all of that in your show. And I do encourage you guys to make sure you listen to the Country Squire Radio. Get any of your main podcast players, you can download those episodes and listen to.
Thank you for that.
But I want to talk a little bit about you. I want the person behind the pipe.
Yeah.
And so what I would be interested in hearing from you, John David, is what has motivated you to pick up the pipe and start smoking? What were there certain events in your life that created that, or maybe some influential person that kind of got you going? Is it in your family? Something like that. So I was wondering if you might share that with us.
It was youth and arrogance. Actually,
we all have a lot of that, right?
So I just turned 39, and I've been smoking a pipe since I was 18. And to be honest with you, at that stage of life, I was just really. We all go through a season like this, but I was really concerned with what people thought about me, and my image, and people struggle with that on and off throughout their life. But I tell you, I grew up in kind of not a rural area, but a suburban area with a lot of more pastoral setting, and when I turned 18, and the tobacco age at that time was 18, most of my friends were doing chewing tobacco and smoking cigarettes, and I was too good for that. And so, especially, my friends
were quite as country as that.
The hubris got in my way there. So, it wasn't for me. And I remember I was working at Walgreens, the second job I ever had. I won't tell you what my first job was, but my second job I ever had, I was working at Walgreens, and I remember stocking the shelves. And this is back when the pipe tobacco and the cigars were out actually in the store.
On the aisles.
They weren't behind the counter. They were back, actually in the store. And so, I remember just when the manager wasn't looking or something, I'd take those big bags of super value black Cavendish, just cheap Cavendish, and I'd just smell them. Oh, it just smelled so good. And I was like, man, forget chewing tobacco and dip and all that stuff. I'm gonna smoke a pipe, and I thought it looked good on me. I thought I was cool, and life's changed a lot since then. But that's one of the things that has not changed, and I'm very thankful for that.
So you didn't have somebody that was there where you went to school?
I'm telling you, like nothing. I thought I was going to be the next C.S. Lewis or Gerald Ford or something. Since then. I discovered that my grandfather, who's now deceased, he was a World War II guy, born in 1919. He was in D-Day and all that kind of stuff, and he was not particularly thrilled with me, smoking anything. But he eventually kind of came along, and he gave me a photo right before he died that's really precious to me. But it's of him smoking a pipe when after D-Day they transferred him to the Pacific Theater. And so he got a double whammy, but it's a picture of him smoking a pipe when he's on a boat in the Pacific Theater, and he's like, so really that one piece of evidence is the only thing I have of any family member of mine smoking a pipe. My parents have never smoked anything. that I know of.
And you didn't know that at the time.
And I had no idea. Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
there's no family that was imparting it there. I think I was just young and looking for something different and to distinguish myself, and it stuck.
And what year was this?
This would have been, gosh, I turned 18 in I don't know. Gosh, right around 2000. It would have been right around 2000. So it's been a little over 20 years, I guess. Yeah. So.
Do you remember what your first tobacco was? Did you grab some of that Super Value?
I do. I had a pouch of Captain Black and a Dr. Graybo, and it was just a bent billiard with kind of a faux military mount, on there, and just a simple little pipe. And man, I thought I was cool. And it smelled so good, I burned that stuff, and it would make my tongue feel like sandpaper, But it made the room smell so good, and even occasionally my parents would be like, "Well, I'll give you that. It does smell pretty good." So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Good memories.
You still have that pipe?
I do.
You
I
do?
do. Yep.
I still have my first one as
Yep.
well. I started. I had a college professor that kind of got me into it when I was 18, and fortunately, which is going to lead us into our next question. But fortunately, he showed me the proper technique of packing,
Right.
and lighting.
I didn't have that.
Well, and my question is that when do you really feel like you got that? You finally put it to your mouth and said, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be like.
It was later in college. It took me quite a while before I got there. We got to college and still smoked. I've smoked a pipe since I was 18, and got to college, and I don't have any memory of someone teaching me about it. So I must have figured it out by just research online or something like that. But yeah, finally got me a tamper, and then eventually lost that and just turned to using golf tees for my tamper, and sometimes when I'm in a pinch I still use a golf tee for a tamper, but yeah, and I feel like at that point it kind of did click, and it was more of it could become a real regular part of my daily rhythms. Once you get it, once you finally fall in a groove with it, it's just easy to start intertwining it into your life, and ever since then it has been.
Was there ever a period of time where you just kind of laid it down and said, "Nah, this is not what I want to do"?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I had later in college when I got busier, I was real active in student stuff in college, and I probably pivoted more to cigars at that point, but still occasionally would pull my pipe out. I remember going on a trip to Atlanta, and we went to some cheap smoke shop out there, and I bought another pipe and picked it up again for a while. And but post college, really, I stuck to it pretty religiously. Yeah.
You went to Mississippi State?
I did. Go Dogs.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you should ask for a refund.
I know, right?
Anyway.
Fair enough. I know, right? No, I was actually picking on you, or not picking on you. I was watching one of your videos the other day. You had a great interview with Trey Rice, who made one of your new pipes that you got. And Trey actually made this pipe right here, which is nice, a Blowfish that I picked up from him in Chicago. And I met Trey probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago. It was right after he started carving pipes. And, he is just an excellent carver and an excellent person. And the only thing I don't like about him is that he's a Texas A&M Aggie.
Well,
am I about to have that experience with you too, Tom?
No, because even within Texas, they are the scrubs.
Well, no. Let me just tell you, I don't know if you knew that. Did you know I'm originally from Texas?
No, I didn't know that.
So I was born in Houston.
Houston, okay.
My uncle is the mayor of Katy. We this very day, we just have a lot of family in East Texas, and so I grew up believing that stupid Aggies was one word.
Well, see, my dad was in the military, so we moved around.
We just lost all your Texas A&M viewers.
Which is probably just Trey. Yeah,
I love you, Trey.
Yeah,
I really do love you.
Because they're all out playing with bulls or something like that. I don't know.
Don't make fun of the land grant school now. As a Mississippi State Bulldog, I'm for that, but it's just them. Let's just pick on them, okay? Go easy on your guests, Tom.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Trey Rice pipes that I have, he's an engineer,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
there's a lot of meticulous work that goes into what he does. He wants everything to
Yeah.
be absolutely perfect.
and you can really tell when you're, number one, when you're smoking his pipe, but number two, when you're with Trey, he exudes that. You can tell that's a very left-brained individual that is thinking very deliberately about the mechanics of his pieces, and I love that. I really appreciate him doing that.
All right, well then we got you through college, and you're smoking your pipe. How did that play into eventually working at the
Yeah.
Country Squire and
Yeah.
finally owning
Yeah.
the Country Squire?
Sure. Growing up, I didn't grow up in this part of town, and I also had no family members that used any tobacco products, to be honest with you. And so, I didn't know the Country Squire existed until after college. Of course, this shop's been here since 1970, so it had been at that point open for 30 years. But yeah, Tom just didn't have any idea, and so. Eventually after college, I moved back to the Jackson area, to work, and had a lot. I was a typical 20-something that had no idea what they wanted to do. Okay, I got a degree in history, right? And the history factory was not hiring. Like they were not. There were no jobs to be had, right? So. We also came out of college right before the big economic crash of '08. And so, at that point, there wasn't, I muddled through a couple jobs, but then there wasn't, a lot of opportunity for just people that were, looking to hire like there is now. And so just a quick overview, I was the marketing director for a law firm and did some paralegal work. I started my own small marketing company. I started flipping houses. I worked for a real estate development firm. I went back and these are all subsequent, one after the other. I went back and got my Series 6 and Series 7 and 66 to become a financial advisor.
Jack of all trades.
And then eventually went back to seminary after that. So just failed career after failed career after failed career. And if you've got any, viewers that are in their 20s and are struggling, just take heart, because it's a hard season to go through. It was, my 20s were very difficult, but through all that, I just continued to smoke a pipe, and through all that, just enjoyed my time doing that, and it was always kind of a stable piece for me. And by that time, I'd moved back to Jackson, was working here, and knew of the Country Squire, and this is where I came to get my pipe tobacco and all that kind of stuff, and it was just a real treat to kind of become involved in this place, and
so how long?
That's how I was introduced to this shop. Yeah.
How long did you work with the Reeves before you, they put it up and you bought it from them?
I would come here to buy pipe tobacco. Of course, this has been years and years ago now, and there was a sweet old lady that founded this shop with her husband in 1970, and her name was Gwen Reeves, and she was the lady I would come buy pipe tobacco from, and just she was 89. You could tell that she was starting to go through probably the early onset of dementia, or not early onset, but the early stages of dementia. And so, but I came in often enough where we would kind of connect a little bit, and she would remember me.
Was it kind of like a grandma experience or something?
Okay, pretty much, yeah. And it was really neat, I'll talk about that in a minute, because that's actually kind of a fun part of our story. But, I was, I was a financial advisor, and I was looking to go back to seminary to study to be a counselor. There's a little seminary here in Jackson called Reformed Theological Seminary, and they have a counseling program, and I was just really interested in that, doing marriage and family therapy, working with kids, and folks that struggle with depression and things of that nature, and so to do that, I really needed a good part-time job. At that point, I had a mortgage and bills, and like everyone else, and so really, really just needed something to bring some income in. And the Squire was the first place I looked. I was like, I just walked in there, and at this point, it was a very small shop. At the time, it kind of left it by a little bit. It was a very well-respected store, but it was one that had kind of been past its prime in some sense. Mrs. Reeves was 89, and she didn't have the real energy to put into new products and keeping up with the industry and all that kind of stuff. So,
to do that right, it's a chore.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And if you're a single lady, at that point her husband had passed away, and if you're an 89-year-old lady, it's pretty difficult, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. So they took a gamble and hired me. And Mrs. Reeves' daughter, Kim, kind of orchestrated that. She was really excited to have me. But, honestly, Tom, I was working here. I was learning tobacco, learning pipes, and working here in that capacity. But in some sense, I was really hired to kind of be Mrs. Reeves's kind of caretaker, someone that would just kind of do life with her during the week. Obviously we sold a lot of pipes and, accessories, and did mail orders and all that. But Mrs. Reeves, occasionally needed help with her car and needed help shopping for groceries.
Almost like a personal assistant.
Well, kind of, yeah. It was like that. I took Miss Gwen to church one time. We got up Sunday and we went to worship together, and it was me and this 90-year-old woman in the pew, It was really special, It really was a sweet time. And so I worked for Miss Gwen for about a year, and then she died. And that was one of, it's interesting, because it's still at that point, I'm still young, but at that point I was very young, this is 12 years ago. And that's one of the first friends I've ever had that died, was my almost 90-year-old boss at that point, a 40-year-old smoke shop. You know what I mean? Like that, and that was an interesting experience for me, and that was hard. Yeah, but anyway, I was thrust into this role of kind of grieving, but then the family was like, "Hey, if we're going to keep this open, you've got to run it. It's on you." And here I am, a full-time seminary student, trying to get counseling hours in, and juggling roommates and everything else, and so I tried to do it all. I really did, and I could not do it all. And
I bet that was a tough decision to make, whether you wanted to pursue.
I had to leave school, and that was hard, man.
Yeah.
That was really hard, and I still think, man, if I ever run this place into the ground, maybe I'll go back, but Lord willing, we won't do that. But yeah, it was difficult to do, but I love this place, and it gets in your skin pretty quick, with this industry, pipe smoking, the incredible community that a place like this, kind of fosters. And so, so anyway, I managed, after she passed away, I managed the shop for the family that inherited it for about 4 or 5 more years. And then in 2016, bought the shop from the family that inherited it. So, so I've owned the Country Squire since 2016. And
when did you move to this building?
We've always been in this shopping center. And so we were actually just literally next door.
Oh, that's cool.
We're literally right next door where the liquor store is. But the liquor store wanted to expand. I know, right? Yeah. This is very synergy. Like, we've got a coffee shop, we've got the Country Squire, pipes and cigars, and then we've got a package store. Just
everything
on the
a
other
person
side
could want.
So it's like all your debauchery and sin. We're just missing a couple things that we won't mention, but like this whole little strip right here.
The next thing will be a CBD store down
right on the corner. Right. I always tell people, if we ever get into selling those kind of products, that we're going to call that shop the Urban Squire. So this is the Country Squire, and that'll be the Urban Squire. But anyway, so we were next door for about 48 years, and the liquor store behind us wanted to expand, and we needed the room too. So we moved into this space, and I was afraid. I mean, this space was double the size of our old shop. Our old shop was a very quaint shop. It was beautiful, brick floors, brick walls, and it was very elegant. I miss it. Lots of natural light. It was great. But we needed the room, and when we moved in here, it was a real leap of faith because I wasn't sure we were gonna be able to fill all this space up. You know what I mean? I knew, I had a feeling. Obviously, we'd thought about this really hard and sharpened our pencils and done projections and all this. But I didn't know if we would make it over here. And we are already. I mean, within the first 2 years, we were over here bursting at the seams.
Yeah,
and I mean, there is no part of this shop that is not covered up with something. You know what I mean? And we already need more room.
It looks like you're packed to the brim, and then also
already need more.
I mean, here it is. I've been here since 10 this morning.
Right.
And I've easily seen 40 people come in and out of the store.
Yeah. And it's like that. It's like that all the time. And we are just so blessed and so honored by people that come here to spend their hard-earned money on pipe tobacco and cigars. I mean, it's just really, it's great. It is great.
So that's a little bit of part one for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll have the second half of this conversation for you, not next weekend, but the weekend after that. Next weekend is our Tobacco Tasters episode, and so we'll be trying out the Presbyterian Ordained. Hopefully you've gotten your sample of that, and you can go ahead and taste that with us. But you can look forward to some more John David the following week, and we'll wrap that up with part two. That was a great experience going there to Jackson and sitting down and getting a chance to talk to John David about, the part of John David that we don't normally hear or know about. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, make all your piping moments count. We'll see you next weekend. Have a great one. Bye-bye.